I want to thank everyone for being here. I got to give watching the film and evaluating the game. We give Northern a lot of credit for what they had in terms of their football team and ready to play. We certainly did not collectively get it done. We all know that. We had a great team meeting yesterday and a workout, and have had an opportunity to visit with a few of our players that are the leaders of our team, and I really feel strongly that these kids, have taken full responsibility, as we all do as coaches in this business. But it's important that we have a solid week of preparation. We know that this is a good football team. Our football team here at the University of Buffalo, when you look at what we did against Georgia and you look at what we did against UConn, and even though OU game, that showed a lot to where we were, and certainly this one, was embarrassing. We know that our players have taken full responsibility as our coaches, but it's 1 week at a time. We've got an experienced group of coaches, and I'm excited and determined to get this team where it belongs. I know all of our players feel that way, and we need to focus on ourselves and 1 day at a time and getting ready for Pitt and our homecoming game. Some of the highlights from that game: Devin Hughes had a career best day. Wide receiver really stepped up for us, had 9 catches, over 100 yards. I was real proud of his effort. Khalil Mack still continues to be one of the top leaders in the nation in tackles for a loss. Zordich broke a single-season rushing record, up and through 6 games, as a quarterback. So he's we're going to continue leaning on him. But spirits are high. Kids are ready to get going, and we're excited to be back home for the next 4 weeks, as we've traveled the previous 3 on the road. So with that, I'll open up for any questions. But before I do that, I apologize, and I know John introduced Alex. We nicknamed him the Alley Cat. Dennison came in. He's from Norwood High School, out of Pennsylvania, as John mentioned, out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Here's a young man who's a tremendous representative of the team example that we want from all of our players. He came in, he was a quarterback. Last year we put him in at tight end, and when we kind of had a rash of running back injuries, we've asked him to help us in the backfield and run some of our short yardage stuff that we like to do. That was really designed for Bo, but he's done a great job. 2 weeks ago, he ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown. We weren't as effective in that scheme Saturday against Northern, but then I really feel very deserving to recognize Alex and appreciate him being here today.
Jeff, is Bo going to practice this week? Where do we stand with him?
He's he did some stuff yesterday. We're not going to hit him. He's going through drills and he's doing stuff out on the field. Is he in a live situation yet? No. But he keeps getting better, and I think we're doing the right thing by taking the kind of precautionary measures to make sure that when he does hit the field that he's 100%. And right now he's closer today and he was yesterday than he was previous to last Saturday's game. So could he potentially play this week? I hope so. I've been hoping for that, praying for that, and I know he wants to get in there, but it's just still a situation where we got to stay, in the mindset of a day by day. And hopefully we'll get him back for Saturday. It would be a great lift to our team. If not, we'll be prepared to continue, running our offense, with Devin, as he's done a great job for us, Campbell.
One thing, just looking at the offense and the way the offense is constructed and built around Alex, is there any consideration? I mean, Tony Daniels, the quarterback, that's more similar to Alex than Joe Cotton. Like, when you look at him making a change at that point, I mean, are you making the change simply to go to the truer passing quarterback, or have you considered at all, utilizing Tony in a role similar to what Alex has done to see if that invigorates the passing?
Well, and it's a good point because, I've said many times before, we need to consider all of our personnel and what gives us our best option of winning football games, and that's still going to be with Alex Dennison. We have not, and we're not making any changes there. Our players believe in him. We're going to continue leaning on Alex Zordich to be our guy, and the next guy in has been Joe, and Joe's going to continue being in that role. I do note that Daniels does a lot of good things in the running game and also in the throw game, and he's being evaluated. We keep working with him each and every single day. But it's Zordich's opportunity to continue leading this team at that position. And Joe's our number 2 guy, and Tony's going to continue giving us depth, and we're going to continue working with him at this point.
Jeff, I know you talked about how spirits are high. To come off a 45-3 loss, just some of the ups and downs, mostly downs that you've had over the past 4 weeks. How do you get this team refocused? How do you get this team believing in itself? How do you convince them that there's still another half of the season to go where you can make some hay?
Well, and that's exactly what we need to do. You brought it up. It's 50% of the season's over. There's a lot of teams that will transform themselves, at some time in the season. We expect it, every day here. I certainly know that our kids looked at the film just like we did. We pointed out the things, not so much of what happened in the loss aspect, but what it takes to win. You got to match that physical and mental toughness. You're going on the road for a 3rd straight week against the defending MAC champs, and we knew they were a good football team. But you have to match that intensity. You got to match that mental and physical toughness in order for you to be in position through 4 quarters. And they got us out of, they jumped on us pretty good, Saturday. And and I look back at a couple early moments in that game, and then even at halftime, there was. I felt our kids were very, very stable. They were very confident. They were, they knew that some of the things that happened in the first half, hey, we wiped the slate clean. Let's get after them the second half, and then wham, they nail us with a first play in the second half, and then we drive down there, and we've been really efficient in the red zone, and we turn the ball over. And those things are all things that contributed to the loss. From that standpoint, but we need to do a better job blocking, tackling, all the fundamentals, things that they've been coached, things that I know our players understand, and I know that they've executed. And we've seen that in the OU game. We saw that in UConn, Georgia, Morgan State, and I think, and you lose a couple guys offensively, and that hurts. That's never going to be. That's no excuse, because you do have other players that you got to lean on and count on, and they've done a great job for us. But we've lost a little bit of that production from that standpoint. But I think our kids have holding it strong, and they know that they are fully capable of playing better football than what they represented on that field Saturday. It's one game. We need to move on, not to forget. The 24 hours is not to forget, but to move on and get our kids locked in to the next opponent. Our challenge and opportunity this week is Pitt.
Is learning to win, and it's been a problem here at UB, a problem with the Bills, a problem with teams that have had long stretches of losing. Is learning to win still something that you need to get out of this team or teach this team or maybe have something good happen to them where they can gain that confidence?
Great point, because I do believe that. I believe there's, it's got to have you got to have an unshakable belief. You got to have faith in the people, the plan, the way you prepare, and then how you get ready for that consistency of performance. And I feel we have the right people here. Players and coaches. I know we have the right plan. The foundation's on solid ground. This program's on solid ground. There's a lot of indications, and you guys know, guys and men and women, okay, I want to acknowledge that, but all know that this football team has shown that it's capable of playing much better football. And once you get that win under your belt, it does bring your level of confidence to a much higher level. And that's important, and we haven't done that for ourselves. And that's our responsibility collectively as a team to do that, coaches and players. And you get that one win, and it's amazing. You look at a lot of previous teams. You look at a team like Kent State, who last year, up and through this time last year, was struggling. And they rattle off 4 out of 5 wins. And look at where they are today. And that's what this team needs. It needs that confidence. It needs that win, and we need to do that. But we got to have a sense of urgency, and that's important. And there's no margin for error. You know, our game and field judgment and awareness Saturday wasn't anywhere near what I would expect from a team that has demonstrated those things in previous games. And those are examples that we've got to continue bringing out to our kids. You know, it didn't look good from the outside, but from inside, internally, in that locker room and in those team rooms and those meetings, I know our kids have a complete faith in the people, the plan, the way we prepare. And now we have to get that consistency of performance and get that win, to get that confidence, so we can build on that.
Jeff, given what you just said, is this schedule too ambitious? Because, I mean, you finish 3 weeks on the road, and it's 3 tough teams, and you come home and you're playing teams going to the ACC. You know, after spending 3 weeks on the road.
Yeah, the scheduling guys were not in our, we're not in our corner. Okay, but that's, and again, you know me, I'm not going to make any excuses. Okay, never. We have to, we've got to prepare week in and week out. Are there some challenges to, play in one of the top schedules? Absolutely. But, I'm up for a good challenge. I know our players are. But, being on the road 3 weeks, that's no excuse. You got to play, and you got to play well. And, now you're home for 4 weeks. Okay, now what do we do? And that's the next step. And that's what we have to do. You got 60 or 50% of your games completed, 6 done. Now you get a chance to get moving forward. But, those are formidable opponents, there's no doubt. When you look at our non-league schedule, and then you look at the league right now, the MAC is, the teams that we've played, the best team in the West, Northern, they're 1 point away from being undefeated. OU is undefeated, and Kent's having a heck of a run early on, being 5-1. So, you put those things added up. We haven't played, we haven't lost to anybody that hasn't had a real solid season so far, and we knew that. Same thing with Georgia, So, and UConn, we know is a very solid football team, and we've played some very, very solid football. We just haven't been able to complete the mission. And that is finishing with a win, and getting a few breaks here and there would be helpful, at that time. But the schedule's that, and I know that our kids are always up for a challenge, as I am as a coach. But we get at home. That's what we have to focus on this game against Pitt. And I know it's going to be a tremendous task for us because they're well coached, they play hard, and they've got a great quarterback and a great throwing game. We go from getting ready to defend, an OU with Tyler Tettleton to defending Jordan Lynch to now defending Tino Sinceri, who's ranked 11th in the country in passing, and he's very accurate, and he's got some great weapons. But I like where our coaches are, and I like where our players are, and we just need to get a win. And again, Saturday, it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for our kids to get back on track.
Seems like both teams are at a crossroads. They're coming off 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
They've not had the season they want.
And they've lost a couple good teams too now, and from that standpoint. But, anytime you look at an opponent, you look at their schemes, number one, you look at, the play calling that they're trying to utilize and to their advantage. And then you got to look at personnel, and structurally, it's an evaluation each and every day to know who our opponent is and get that across to our kids for the game plan. And I like where our coaches, take every single week we come up with the best game plan, and I know we prepare it very well. And I know that this is going to be a tremendous opportunity to face a good throwing team. And defensively they're aggressive. They're a 4-down defense. They throw in a little 3-down. So that'll be a challenge for our kids up front in Zordich, and certainly we just got to keep doing what we do best and keep putting our kids in the right position. But know your opponent, respect them, but fear no one. And I think our kids will be ready to play Saturday.
Getting back to the schedule, Alex, can you kind of chime in on that? You got Pitt this week, then you got Toledo next week. They're in the mix to win the West too. Talk about the schedule a little bit.
We're really looking at it 1 week at a time. After last week, we came together as a team, and that's what I think is important with this group of guys that we have is we're so close that after a loss like that, we don't look at it so negatively. We look at each other and see what can we do to get better and how can we approach these next couple weeks to make this season what we want it to be. And as a group of guys, we looked at it as, 1 game at a time, come together and work to make what we want to happen this week. So we're just looking at Pitt at home and trying to make the most of this week, and then we'll move on next week. You know, it's nice to have this 4-game at home, these 4 home games coming up, because we're really excited about, you know, getting everything together, putting everything together, and playing well. So.
It's the third straight game that you guys are playing a team that the good team that you stuck with last year. Maybe come drop passes away from beating it at Pitt. I talked to a couple of the guys. You always seem to say that it always motivates you a little more when you have lost to a team the year before. Is that something that you look at, or do you try to separate yourself from it?
I mean, we do look at the success we had last year, especially since it was at their place, and it's nice to know that they're coming here, and you know, you kind of get that feeling that you know you can win. You know, they're beatable. So we're taking a look at last year, knowing that, you know, we didn't play our best game, and we still, you know, hung in there, and we're going to really try to put it together this week. So because we know we can come through and win at the end. So.
Alex, from a player's perspective, where is the confidence level of this team right now?
You know, I think this game helped us come together. Instead of, you know, pointing fingers and things like that, we all came together and said, you know, what did I do wrong? What can I do to make this team better? And I think that, you know, that helped us improve our confidence, because, you know, we didn't fight with each other or bicker like teams in the past may have. We came together and said, you know, what can I do, you know, to make this turn around, make this thing happen, so we can right the ship, you know.
Alex, how much do you need something to fuel or gain some traction and validate that these teams will have something good to happen?
I don't think we ever really lost the belief, you know. We have really good leaders on this team, and they make sure that we stick to the course, and, you know, you might have, you know, some falls every once in a while, but we usually stay together and we try to make the most of everything, and I don't think our confidence is shaken too much. We're really looking forward to this game, you know, 1 week at a time. So.
You enjoyed the roles that you've been able to play this year? Talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. I want to do what I can to help the team. And, you know, if Coach Quinn's going to give me the chance to go out and do something or play, you know, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity that he gives me, and I'm just grateful that he has given me the opportunity to do these things.
Knowing that you were going to get a chance to throw the ball a couple of weeks ago, that take you back to your old quarterback?
Yeah, I was really excited about that. You know, we had put the play in before, and, you know, I was waiting for him to call. It's been we put it in a couple weeks before, so we're really looking forward to, you know, running it, and it just happened to work out perfectly. And once that corner bit up and I threw the pass, I knew Noose was going to score, and we were really excited. So.
Which I talked to one of the guys on Northern staff played for Coach Patterson. We were just in the elevator talking, and he mentioned that Coach Patterson has a bit of a mind like yours. These specialty plays, they're all over the place, aren't they? You got a bunch of them.
Well, it makes for interesting long night discussions when we're in the war room discussing things, you know, about what it is that we need to do to spark some momentum in critical times in the games, and you know. But those are all things that you know, I know our players. I've said this in the past. Those specialty plays are all plays that our players enjoy practicing and gearing up for. And not to take away from your base core stuff that you try to accomplish, you know, each and every game. But, you know, I know Alex is, and I appreciate the words he's expressed here, because he is one of those guys that does provide this team with an example of what leadership is about and being about the team. And when given an opportunity, that he was ready and to deliver his best performance, you know, in minimal amount of rep times speaks volumes of who he is and who he is as a man and as a player, but also his family. And that's been a big part of this for Alex, because you know, he knows what I think of him, and you know, he knows he likes to draw things up too, and usually it's a little bit of the run game, but a little bit more throw game, you know, when it comes to those plays. So we'll see what we have you know, ready for Saturday. That'll be exciting to see how well our kids you know, respond when those moments take place, and they will happen again. And Alex is certainly doing a heck of a job for us.
Jeff, you touched on Sunseri's success at quarterback. Can you talk a little bit about their offense as a whole, and how they've kind of started to work another running back into the mix there with Graham, and how that affects what they do offensively?
A lot different than last year. You know, when you think about what they have done with their offense, Tino is not running zone read. You're not going to see him run the ball. You're going to see it, you know, he's going to run, you know, the running game for them is still Ray Graham and this true freshman, Rochelle Shell, who is a very good football player. Now, Graham's a little quicker. He can plant, and, you know, he's got some good change of direction. Rochelle, who's a true freshman, you know, he's a vertical guy. They run the power, the inside zone scheme, the divide zone, a little bit of draw. But Tino will not be running the ball like he did last year. They were doing a little bit more zone read, obviously. And he's got an outstanding couple receivers. Devin Street, number 15. He's a really solid football player. Now, these guys are all 6'4", 6'5" receivers, too, you know, so, and that can run. You know, and then Shanahan, who's the other one, 87, outstanding. But that's, you know, they're a little bit more traditional style from that standpoint. But, you know, it fits what we do, you know, and that's why I hired Lou and the philosophy that he brings in, you know, a defense that can adapt and adjust week in and week out to the multiple different types of systems of offense that we face, whether it's the pro style, whether it's a throw game, whether it's zone read, so on and so forth. What we need to do is put some pressure on him, and he's hard to get to. But he's been very accurate and very consistent in his ability to find open receivers. So you can't let him sit back there, because if you do, he could certainly do some damage, you know, in terms of beating coverages. He's got some quality receivers. His offensive line is solid, too. You know, it's a good football team, you know, and that's what we, you know, respect about Pitt. You know, we just got to keep getting our kids dialed in and having a great week of prep so they have the consistency of performance and they're ready to go on Saturday.
Any consideration elevating Hughes on the depth chart given his production the last couple of weeks?
Well, he started for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
that's
listed. I'm just telling you where he's listed on.
Well, he starts for us. I'll make sure that. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's, you know, he's definitely. I think after the you know, the UConn game, you know, we started playing, you know, him a little bit more and jumped up. So he's starting for us, and, you know, he continuously seems to keep getting better, and it's a good feeling because you know, when you don't have Fred Lee, you've needed somebody else to step in there, and he's done an admirable job of doing that. We need to get him, you know, really playing a complete game. And that calls for him to block, and that calls for him to consistently play at a high level. He can catch the ball, and he can do some things. We threw a couple short passes out there, and I liked what he was able to do when he had the ball in his hands, making some people miss. So, you know, it's been a great that was a bright spot in that game, and it's good to see that Devin's starting to get his opportunity and deliver on, you know, his chances.
I suppose it's good for the conference as a whole if Ohio cracks the top 25, which they've done this week, and, you know, Northern might be on the verge of doing that. But looking at the crossover schedules and how those set up.
You're not letting go of that scheduling question, I know.
You know, well, I'm trying to be realistic.
I know.
When you look at the crossover schedules, do you think there's intent in how teams are scheduled in the crossover? I mean, in fact, you don't have, you know, when you look at who you play this year, you look at who Ohio plays this year. You look at Ohio over the last 3 years, and I think like the conference winning percentages of their opponents in previous years, like 33%, you know, something like that. Do you think that's it? Now, that might be good for the league, but how's it good for a coach that's trying to turn a program around?
It's very challenging. It's very interesting. You know, you bring those things up because, you know, the way I spin it, the way you have to as a head football coach is, you know, you got to play against the best. You want to be the best, you got to play against the best, you know, and that's the way we're going to continuously, you know, conduct ourselves and the way we have to think. We have to get ready to play everybody. And, you know, it's good for us to see those kind of football teams, too, because you can learn a lot, you know, from seeing good quality competition. And I think for our players to face, you know, some of the best West teams, the top 3 West teams, plus battling in the East, you know, those are things that you got to look at, and you know, you got to say, look, we got to do a better job. You know, number one, you got to develop the ones you got. You know, we got to get bigger, faster, stronger. The game demands a lot from you physically, mentally. We've had a couple key guys go down. That is tough to overcome a little bit. But I think our kids are all in good, in good spirits and understand that the schedule is what it is, and you play it, and you just go and see what happens, and don't worry about it. Next year will be next year, and then next year will be the next, and hopefully we can measure up and play some of those teams, top teams, and win some key games that can get the spirits and the confidence back to where we belong. Because you beat a good team, and let's face it, we were awfully close against OU, and that's a big plus, for us. But we haven't seen Toledo, we haven't seen Western, other than on film. So we know that those are two pretty good doggone football teams too that we're going to face. But the good thing is we get them at home.
Alex, is there any talk among players like that when the schedule comes out? I mean, is there we're playing Northern again, that kind of thing?
I don't think we really look at it that way because, you look at it as, they're still in the MAC conference. And we like to think it is, that there's some parity in the conference. We don't see them as anything special or anything different than that. A MAC opponent is a MAC opponent. And you need to, if you want to win the MAC championship, you're going to have to beat, the best team in the West or, all the good teams in the East. So I don't think it's anything that we've ever really looked at.